Welcome back to my multi-ethnic crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is for educational purpose only. This is the case of the Idaho quadruples. I like to start by this clip. Idaho has done a great job today. They made a big drug bust. I wanted to show you all how deep Idaho has gone into human trafficking, trigger warning, and drug trafficking.
Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for many of you that traveled here. I'm Josh Hurwitz, the United States Attorney for the District of Idaho, and we are here collectively to announce the takedown of a significant methamphetamine trafficking organization that is believed to have distributed dozens of pounds of that illegal drug to Magic Valley communities. The investigation here that we're announcing today is the result of outstanding partnerships and teamwork between local law enforcement in the Magic Valley, the Idaho State Police, and the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, as well as my office, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Idaho. We are honored to have the agencies that worked on this case represented here today behind me, and we're grateful for the governor for being here today and supporting our collective efforts to root out drug trafficking in all communities in Idaho. Let me begin by noting that the cases being announced today are all pending trial, and that the indictments being provided to you today are merely allegations against the defendants, and that, of course, in this country, all defendants are presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt at trial. So this investigation began in 2023 when the Idaho State Police and the DEA began tracking a drug trafficking organization operating here in Idaho, with also connections to Arizona, California, and Mexico. Investigators quickly began working with local law enforcement in Jerome County and Twin Falls County in particular, and the investigation expanded from there. My office, led by Assistant U.S. Attorneys Frank Zabari and Chris Booker behind me, used court-authorized tools to track the defendants, identify further leads, and investigate further defendants, and amassing the evidence in this case. To date, 10 defendants have been indicted by a federal grand jury in the District of Idaho for drug trafficking offenses. An additional 10 defendants are being charged with drug crimes in state court in Twin Falls County and Jerome County. Details of each of the federal indictments and the defendants charged are contained in your press packets and the press release contained therein, which will be distributed shortly to you. But let me summarize. Several of the federal defendants have been charged with conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine. Several other of the defendants have been charged with possession with the intent to distribute methamphetamine. One defendant has been charged with possession with the intent to distribute both methamphetamine and cocaine, and 3 of the defendants have been charged with the actual distribution of methamphetamine, which, as alleged, occurred through what law enforcement refers to as controlled buys. As a result of the investigation, over 30 pounds of methamphetamine has been seized, and we believe a pipeline of methamphetamine coming into this community in this valley has been shut off. We look forward to justice being served in the cases we are handling federally and with respect to the 10 defendants charged in state court. Let me conclude by thanking our state, federal, and local partners for their hard work on these cases. The entities and agencies involved are listed in your press packet, but essentially it's every law enforcement agency in the Magic Valley contributed to this great team effort. I'm grateful in particular to our local partners for placing their trust in our office to work with them hand in hand to keep their communities safe. And I also want to thank the DEA and the ISP for their hard work and leadership on this case. What you see here today reflected in this group of partners, including through the governor's support, is a partnership that extends beyond any jurisdictional lines. We have federal, state, and local entities that have come together in pursuit of the same goal, which is to rid our communities of drugs and drug traffickers. There are no turf wars in Idaho law enforcement. There is only teamwork and collaboration to figure out the best way to accomplish our mission of keeping all Idahoans safe. Thank you very much. Now I would like to pass it over to Assistant Special Agent in charge of the DEA, Ron Geist, who will introduce Colonel Gardner and then the governor, and then we can take questions. Thank you very much.
I'll go on through, Josh. You talked about how a controlled buy was, I guess, one of the methods or procedures.
Yes.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure. A controlled buy, and our experts are right behind me here. A controlled buy is when law enforcement sets up essentially an undercover operation where the supplier of the drugs is unknowingly selling a quantity to law enforcement, which secures the drug so it's out of the community and documents the sale, which then, of course, forms great evidence that the defendant or the target of the investigation was actually selling that illegal substance. Sir?
Regarding the level of organization of this enterprise,
Yes.
with the 10 federal charges and the 9 state charges,
Yeah.
is there any sort of organization that is like either a gang or a crime organization that you would be able to name?
Can't give a name to it, but as you noted, name or no name, this number of defendants, this number of people involved in bringing these harmful substances to our communities is significant by itself.
How much is 30 pounds of methamphetamine? Do you have any way to kind of contextualize that
Sure.
as far as dosage or
Yeah.
how many?
Yeah, so first let me point out that it's over 30 pounds that was just seized. Of course, before the investigation got started, there must have been a more significant quantity that actually did arrive in the Magic Valley. We were talking about this. It's probably at least 1,000 doses per pound. Is that fair to say? So in this case, we're talking about tens of thousands of doses of methamphetamine that are no longer, on the streets and no longer coming into this community.
States involved again.
The counties? Multiple states. So it's Idaho, obviously, and then the drugs were coming from at least Arizona and California and Mexico, where they originated.
So the drugs were coming from Arizona, California, and Mexico, where it originated from. And then I remembered something connected to the Idaho Moscow case. We've heard those names before. Arizona, Mexico, California. Let me show you.
Thought about the luxury SUV now, looking back? You probably didn't think too much of it then. Any ideas?
No, not really. It was pretty decked out. I think it had like ramps and windows. It was just like a cool car, and that's why I noticed it. But I didn't I just assumed it was like one of the the people's parents. Like a lot of the students here have really rich parents, and they have nice cars. So that's just kind of what it seemed like to me. And I don't know, I saw I think it was a kind of like a deserty. It might have been, it was either like Arizona, it might even been Colorado, but I think, or like Montana. And I saw one of those cars parked up on the hill over a lot. I'm wondering if it was a white Elantra. I'm thinking back and I can't remember. I don't want to say it was or not, but that was the only other car I noticed that didn't seem like someone that lives there. I don't know.
Thought about the luxury SUV now, looking back? You probably didn't think too much of it then. Any ideas?
No, not really. It was pretty decked out. I think it had like ramps and windows. It was just like a cool car, and that's why I noticed it. But I didn't I just assumed it was like one of the the people's parents. Like a lot of the students here have really rich parents, and they have nice cars. So that's just kind of what it seemed like to me. And I don't know, I saw like, I think it was a kind of like a deserty. It might have been, it was either like Arizona, it might even been Colorado, but I think, or like Montana. And like I saw one of those cars like parked up on the hill of our lot a lot. I'm wondering if it was a white Elantra. I'm thinking back and I can't remember. Like I don't want to say it was or not, but that was the only other car I noticed that didn't seem like someone that lives there. I don't know.
We heard the district attorney in Idaho who had the rug bust said clearly the rugs came from Arizona, California, and Mexico, where it originated from. And you hear Inan Harsh saying he saw that fancy luxury car that was a black Jeep or SUV or something. And he said that it had the plate on the car was either Arizona, he mentioned California, he mentioned Colorado, Nevada, Mexico, something like that. So we heard that from the district attorney himself.
And in 2023, when the Idaho State Police and the DEA began tracking a drug trafficking organization operating here in Idaho, with also connections to Arizona, California, and Mexico. Investigators quickly began working with local law enforcement in Jerome County and Twin Falls County in particular, and the investigation expanded from there. My office, led by Assistant U.S. Attorneys Frank Zabari and Chris Booker, behind me, used court-authorized tools to track the defendants, identify further leads, and investigate further defendants, and amassing the evidence in this case. To date, 10 defendants have been indicted by a federal grand jury in the District of Idaho for drug trafficking offenses. An additional 10 defendants are being charged with drug crimes in state court in Twin Falls County and Jerome County. Details of each of the federal indictments and the defendants charged are contained in your press packets and the press release contained therein, which will be distributed shortly to you. But let me summarize. Several of the federal defendants have been charged with conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine. Several other of the defendants have been charged with possession with the intent to distribute methamphetamine. One defendant has been charged with possession with the intent to distribute both methamphetamine and cocaine, and 3 of the defendants have been charged with the actual distribution of methamphetamine, which, as alleged, occurred through what law enforcement refers to as controlled buys. As a result of the investigation, over 30 pounds of methamphetamine has been seized, and we believe a pipeline of methamphetamine coming into this community and this valley has been shut off. We look forward to justice being served in the cases we are handling federally and with respect to the 10 defendants charged in state court. Let me conclude by thanking our state, federal...
That was a huge drug bust. Idaho's been struggling with drug trafficking, human trafficking, etc. Weapon trafficking is becoming on the borders of Mexico and the cartels. The point of understanding this case of Idaho Moscow, we have to be open-minded. We have to be mindful and respectful to the families and the victims, obviously. But we have to think in each and every way. Inan Harsh clearly said that he believed that the car the SUV had the plate license of Arizona, California, Mexico, Montana, Nevada, and Colorado. Although he said many places, it was at night, we have to remember, around 1:30 at night. And the district attorney said the drug trafficking ring, he would say later on human trafficking even, was true. Arizona, California, Idaho, Arizona, California, and Mexico, where it originated from. So we have facts coming up that could be related in this case. The whole of Idaho and many states in the United States have been going through tough times with drugs coming in from Mexico and many other places. So I wonder if the surviving roommates or the 4 victims got themselves into something they couldn't get out of. It is possible because these are young college students, and if they run out of money, they could be tempted to earn a bit on the side. You have to remember that Maddie and Kaylee were very concerned, especially Maddie, about especially Kaylee was concerned about what Maddie told Adam. So we've heard Arizona, California, Mexico twice. Sloan Bello is a psychic. I hardly watch psychics, but Sloan Bello is always on point. She has the talent and gift of getting things accurate. I've showed you all a bit one of my other clips of Sloan Bello. Please like and subscribe to her. She made a brilliant clip about the Idaho Moscow, and she hardly knew about the case, but whatever she predicted, Arizona, California, Mexico, the organization, and whatever Inan said, whatever Inan Harsh said about Arizona, California, Mexico, Montana, Colorado, the car plates, is all the same. Sloan Bello predicted, she didn't predict actually, in a reading, she said that Kim Porter, P. Diddy's baby mama for his 3 children, who died at the age of 47 of pneumonia allegedly, which I don't believe with P. Diddy, and nobody does, told her last June that P. Diddy was going down and his house was going to be raided. That clip has turned viral on every YouTube channel. That's how on point Sloan Bello is with Whitney Houston, with many other famous people, as readings. So I thank her once again, because I know people think different of psychics. I usually don't listen to psychics, like I said, but Sloan Bello is just on point.
I'm going to word it like that. So one may not actually be a knife. It may be something else. It may be a sharp-edged thing. What was so interesting is when I was trying to feel the energy, was thinking of people that sharpen weapons, like other kinds of things like ski poles and stuff, and they sharpen it where it could look like a knife or stick somebody like a knife. So I was thinking of that. That tells me it's not just a knife. I feel there was fighting. I also feel the phone call was made. The people were sent out. The cleaner came into the house. The people were sent out. There's somebody scooping up paperwork or looking for information in the house. Now, I don't know how much paperwork anyone keeps in those like fraternity houses or sorority houses or on-campus houses, but I'm feeling like they were looking for something in particular. I also feel like a call was made at about 11 o'clock the night prior on the 12th, and everything was set into motion then. It was set into motion. It's going forward. Now, I feel like this is connected to something so much more than like, I'm pissed off at you, I'm a psychopath, I'm coming to kill 4 random people. That house was being watched. They were being stalked. Everybody in that house was being watched, okay? Everybody, not Madison, not just Kaylee, not, Bethany, not just Dylan, all of them. And there was one other girl in there.
Zana.
Themselves out. And the third reason is because they have a plan to commit crimes, and they're studying police tactics and procedures so that they can become a better criminal. And if Kohberger is the killer, I think those second 2 reasons would be at play. Whoever did this, be it Kohberger or someone else, is a sexual domination killer. And this is someone that's created a sadistic theatrical production based on fantasies that he's had for many years. Now, the fantasies serve to meet his emotional needs, to express rage at women, and to have a sense of godlike power, because others' vulnerability makes him feel invincible, and their deaths make him feel like a god.
Coming up, the legal battle ahead as prosecutors seek the death penalty.
To have a full defense, he absolutely needs to know that this investigation against him was 100% according to protocol.
Plus, remembering the victims.
Through all this, I hope we can all look through that dark tunnel and see the light and follow that light. And I pray that we have justice someday.
Brian Kohberger's case that's very concerning is the government does not want to turn over in discovery what all was searched, what databases were searched, and what records were obtained.
When you're talking about a defendant's right to a fair trial and his due process and his Sixth Amendment to have a full defense, he absolutely needs to know that this investigation against him was 100% according to protocol, and that there was integrity in this investigation.
The defendant apparently has an alibi. Now, a little strange here. They say, his attorneys, that he likes to go out at night and in the early morning hours and sort of drive around, and that's what he was doing at the time of the murders. Couldn't have done it.
Kohberger's alibi is that he wasn't at the crime scene, but instead he was driving around alone. That statement of his alibi doesn't tell us obviously exactly what time he was driving, where he was driving to and from, and why. I mean, we don't have any of those details. He's not saying something that's completely inconsistent with the evidence.
The defense is also claiming that cameras should not be allowed inside the courtroom, claiming Kohberger's every move is being analyzed in a way that's prejudicial. Kaylee's father, Steve Gonsalves, has some thoughts on that.
If you're not a personable person and you give off weird vibes, yeah, you probably don't want nobody to actually see the truth and see who you are and read you for how you behave. You can't hide the truth, man. I'm so tired of the secretive and all that stuff. I want this stuff to be out in the open. I want all the evidence out. I want it to be clear. I want the community to look at that evidence.
Kaylee, you will never be forgotten. We will live right for you every day with your mentality in our mind. We love you so much.
She embodied her own sunshine, and that's when her skies became limitless.
I sent you my heart.
I'm my Charlie D'Amelio check!
Most important is love. Like it's the only thing you know how. Nothing even matters except love and human connection.
I'm not a big drinker, but maybe I should have something.
You're not a big drinker?
I was lucky enough to be able to explore life with Maddie. Maddie was the best at spreading love.
Distance makes the heart know who you
Xana was the funniest person I knew and made me laugh every time I spent time with her. Xana, you will not be forgotten. You have impacted so many lives and have given people so much love.
Ethan was always someone you could count on to make you smile and cheer up your mood. And I feel so lucky to have shared so many great memories with him.
Minions, tonight we steal the meal. Sweet love of mine.
So lucky to have shared so many great memories with him.
Minions, tonight we steal the meal. Sweet love of mine.
Through all this, I hope we can all look through that dark tunnel and see the light and fight. We have justice someday.
Her. So there's some kind of recognition there because they saw her. Whatever the recognition is, why ever they didn't kill her, there is a reason. There is acknowledgement there. I think she opened the door and went, oh shit, and shut the door. Okay? This is prior to what happened. She either caught the back end of them or caught it right on the way by. I don't feel like Bethany saw any of that, but I feel like Bethany knows exactly what was going on, but maybe during what was going on. Obviously, if you hear sounds like that, and I'm really hesitant to believe that they did not hear the sounds of people being murdered. I'm pretty sure you heard them. That house, I'm pretty sure you heard them. I can hear a creak in my house. I mean, there's no way you didn't hear them. You may have tuned it out, you may not have wanted to deal with it, but there's no way you can't hear that. That house was not that big, and it seemed like it was pretty actually run down or not really sturdy. It wasn't like a mansion with 75 rooms. So I got the distinct feeling that both the surviving roommates actually did hear what went on. I am also seeing Kaylee and Madison at some kind of establishment, bar, restaurant, whatever. I see them talking, they're eating something, so it could be like at a bar stool. It's a table, not a booth table. They're sitting there talking, and who they're talking to is a turncoat or a Benedict Arnold or a person who is setting them up, getting information about when they're going home, what they're going to be doing. I feel like the girls were talking to the enemy without knowing it was the enemy. Now, what do I mean by that? You're thinking, who wants to kill young girls, right? Besides sexual pervert, which is where this case is going when they focus on Brian Kohlberger. They focus on, he's like on the spectrum, he's OCD, and he is a Scorpio. They do stalk people. I mean, that's just factual. They do it for fun. Scorpio rising, Scorpio moon, whatever. Scorpio sun, they can't help themselves. They rule that part of the chart. They also make great detectives, okay? So they will research. I feel like Brian was called in to the house. I'm cleaning up behind somebody. I'm cleaning up. Okay, so it looks a little bit, and I'm not apologizing for him. I don't even want to hear that in there. I'm telling you what I'm feeling, and I don't have to feel what is written in the newspaper. That's not how psychic works. That's not how mediumship works. That's not how energy reading works, and I'm getting really amped up with it. I hear Kaylee again saying, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I hear Xana talking to her mother. I'm hearing that. There's something going on with her mother in the next 5 months where the mother either has to have surgery or some kind of medical issue. And Xana is saying, it's okay, I'm okay. Like, she's saying it, you don't have to do this. You don't, it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe, but that's what I'm hearing. So interesting is when I was trying to feel the energy, was thinking of people that sharpen weapons, like other kinds of things like ski poles and stuff, and they sharpen it where it could look like a knife or stick somebody like a knife. So I was thinking of that. That tells me it's not just a knife. I feel there was fighting. I also feel the phone call was made. The people were sent out. The cleaner came into the house. The people were sent out. There's somebody scooping up paperwork or looking for information in the house. Now, I don't know how much paperwork anyone keeps in those like fraternity houses or sorority houses or on-campus houses, but I'm feeling like they were looking for something in particular. I also feel like a call was made at about 11 o'clock the night prior on the 12th, and everything was set into motion then. It was set into motion. It's going forward. Now, I feel like this is connected to something so much more than like, I'm pissed off at you, I'm a psychopath, I'm coming to kill 4 random people. That house was being watched. They were being stalked. Everybody in that house was being watched, okay? Everybody, not Madison, not just Kaylee, not, Bethany, not just Dylan, all of them. And there was one other girl in there.
Zana. It was said that Kaylee had a stalker in the beginning, and I still do believe that she had a stalker. What if she noticed that allegedly someone in the organization was stalking her? Could that be the reason that she stopped living in the house and she moved to her parents' house for last month? What if the girls heard something they was not supposed to hear, like Sloan said? That's the reason Kaylee's saying, I'm sorry. It lines up with when they were walking from the grub truck, what Jack Showalter said to them. They're going to get you for that, Maddie. They're going to get you girls for that. Or something like that. Started to line up. But the lead of Arizona, California, and Mexico. So it was some kind of organization, allegedly. This is all my opinion, guys. Maddie and Zana used to work together at the Mad Creek. The previous owners are said to have been, allegedly, to some organization business. I wonder if BK could have been working for them. He's been to the Mad Creek to buy a pizza, and he must have met Zana and Maddie there. It is possible.
In Idaho say they have DNA linking Brian Kohberger to the murders of 4 University of Idaho students. But it's not the only DNA that was found at the scene. And could other DNA point to other suspects during the trial? Thanks for joining me for Crime Fix. I'm Anjanette Levy. Brian Kohberger's trial for the murders of those 4 University of Idaho students could begin in the spring of 2025. That's an entire year from now. We know about some of the evidence in the case, but there's still a whole lot we don't know. One of the things that's been discussed a lot is DNA. Kohberger maintains he didn't kill Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, Ethan Chapin, and Xana Kernodle in a house off campus in November of 2022. But prosecutors say he's their guy, and the evidence points squarely at him. Kohberger's DNA, according to police, was found on the snap of a knife sheath on Maddie Mogen's bed. That DNA profile led to Kohberger being identified as a suspect using genetic genealogy. But Kohberger's defense team said in a court document last year that there are 3 other unknown male DNA profiles that were found at the scene of the murders. 2 were inside the house, and 1 was outside of the house on King Road on a glove. Many people provided DNA during this investigation. One person even had their DNA taken from a discarded cigarette butt. So how big of a deal could unidentified DNA be in Brian Kohberger's trial if it happens in 2025, as we expect? Joining me to discuss this is Law and Crime host, Jonna Spilbor. She's also a defense attorney. Jonna, thanks for coming on. When we first heard about this unidentified DNA last summer, that there were 3 profiles, 2 in the house, 1 on a glove outside, we were all like, wow, that sounds like it could be a big deal. But I also think about a college house as just a giant petri dish full of God knows whose DNA. So what do you think about the defense specifically naming or identifying these 3 sources of male DNA that were never identified or they're unknown?
I think it's a huge deal. And of course, I agree with you that in this type of house, there's going to be a lot of DNA from a lot of different people, right? And it might have gotten there in non-nefarious ways. But when you're dealing with a crime of this magnitude, of this seriousness, which really, and I keep going back to this, really started out as a needle in a haystack type of investigation, then you do want to test all the testable DNA at the crime scene. So this is going to be big, and especially from a defense perspective, if it doesn't get, sort of fettered out pre-trial, you can bet your bottom dollar that this is going to be part of the defense in this case, what we call, kind of flippantly, but it actually has become part of the legal vernacular, the Saudi defense, the some other dude did it defense, a third-party defense. This kind of DNA untested would be monumental in this case for the defense.
I assume that any DNA that they believed was significant, they tried to identify. If there were unknown profiles, the state did. And they may still be doing that. I mean, this was filed last summer. Mm-hmm. And so they talk about in this filing, the defense had said, they got some guy's DNA off of a cigarette butt. They had found that, probably a potential suspect. So there are all kinds of ways to get DNA from people. I'm sure some people surrendered their DNA willingly, said, yeah, swab my cheek, whatever. But going through and looking at all of that, I mean, there's going to be DNA in certain places that could be significant, and the defense could point to that and say, people surrendered their DNA willingly, said, yeah, swab my cheek, whatever. But going through and looking at all of that, I mean, there's going to be DNA in certain places that could be significant, and the defense could point to that and say, oh, well, this is somebody you don't know about. And it could be anybody who had access to that house.
Correct. And if the defense is given an opportunity to do its own testing, that can happen too, which is sort of, it's weird, right? Because the defense doesn't have an obligation to do that. It's not their burden of proof. You would think, I mean, just let's think about this case for a minute. You would think that the DA, the prosecutor, would want to gather all of the DNA that is available. And as we just talked about, that could be quite a lot. But with that, with the testing and doing the same thing that they applied allegedly to Kohlberger, they could figure out whether they have the right guy. I mean, that is the crux of this case. It's not enough to prove that a crime has been committed, and frankly, they don't need to prove that. That's obvious. They need to connect the dots. They need to find the right person or people who committed this crime. So the defense is going to be screaming that they want the state to go ahead and test that DNA, and if they don't, then they're going to want their own sample of it to test themselves, guaranteed.
I wonder who the 3 unidentified male DNAs were. Could it have been any of these 4? I really believe what Sloan Bella said. Because when I first found this, almost 2 years ago, just look at the person in the mosque downstairs. This guy seems to have one glove on. Or could it be the 4 figures running? Could it be Showalter, aka Hoodie Guy, allegedly? Could it be Jack D and Adam, allegedly? Or could it be the 4 figures running who had the alleged 4chan theory of how they're going to commit these crimes?